G'day, Jack out the back. It's a Monday, so it's time to go for a fly. And this time I've even remembered the keys for that water point that I fixed up last week. Let's get into it. So when talking about flying and aerial shots that I was getting, some people mentioned that it'd be interesting to see what it looks like from out of the plane. So today I've got a GoPro mount that I can stick on the outside. To start with, I'm going to put my old GoPro on because I don't want to lose this new one and all our good footage. So I'm looking at a couple of spots to try it out on. And what we want to make sure is that we're not going to be interfering with any of the aerodynamics of the plane. So one spot I've thought about, and I've previously had them there, is near our pitot tube. The other spot that I thought would be cool, but just to check how good these mounts are, I'm going to have it somewhere I can see before I go stick another one out there, is a shot from on the tailplane, which would give us a pretty interesting view for our flying and landing. If it stays out on that wingtip, might do some shots on the way home. Let me know what you reckon of those angles and we'll give them a try. I'm just going to do my pre-start and let's get flying. The other thing mentioned was the trial that I did with the microphone last week. It didn't really work well. Today should be the last fly that we do without the intercom teed in. I've ordered online a adapter which will plug into our intercom here, and it'll do a little pass through. And so that means that pilot communications, air traffic control, all of those sort of things that go on, you'll be able to hear it. We also have a UHF, which in a lot of station aircraft you'll find, so you can communicate with the guys on the ground. That's teed in to our intercom, and it's a toggle switch between the VH, so air band, and the UH, the CB bands. Having that intercom recording means that you guys are going to be able to be involved in the communications that I have when I'm flying, which is going to be even better now we've got the new team member Ant to show around. So landed up here at Bullock, and good news, the old GoPro stayed on for that whole flight. So it looks like we're going to be able to have a crack at putting this one on there to see what footage we get. We might have a bit of film from that first bit of flight, but it'll be interesting to put this GoPro on and see what the quality is compared to some of the stuff I took a few years ago. So here at Bullock, and it's literally just to check, see if the reconfig that I did last week, I know that it showed up as not having worked, but I jumped on the other day and it seems that patience is a virtue that I'm not terribly good at having, and the adoption had worked. So I'm just gonna have a look at a few things here and see what we've got going on and if I'm gonna be able to take out that older tech. So one thing that's really handy to remember is your key. So I've made the relevant changes. I'm just going to flick my phone open and just see if we're getting the right quality service. All right, looks like we're good. Going to put our test server over to Melbourne and see if we get a little bit of a better connection to there than we do have back to Perth. We've got a reasonable speed out here, especially considering that we're doing somewhere around 80 kilometers over the air to get to here. So 20 meg per second is enough to be streaming in reasonable quality if you wanted to, but to serve the purpose out here, which is to provide video feeds back to the homestead and potentially to the internet, I'm pretty happy with that. you know, you're making a phone call and hardly noticing any lag. So that seems to be pretty good. So happy with that. I'm gonna jump in the plane. I'll put the camera on the outside and we'll see what kind of video we get. Clear, prop. Here at Sweetwater, on the cameras I noticed that there was a bit of moisture appearing at the base of the tank, but the dipstick's still up. So I asked Dad about it. Dad's based down in Esperance and he can log into our network and have a look at the cameras from anywhere in the world. He's injured himself recently, so he's a little bit out of action and he's got plenty of time to put his mind to other things. So he and I were looking at the cameras and discussing what we thought the fault was. Because we've got this moisture coming through, but the dipstick is still up. We're debating whether it's a crack in the tank itself, a leak in the bottom, or if it's just the float sensor pushing too much water into the tank. Either way, if you had a different monitoring system that relied on just telling you the tank level, you wouldn't be able to identify this because the tank level is fine. It's operating perfectly well. It's just pumping a bit more water onto the ground. Now, we don't like that. We'll discuss this a little bit further when it comes to looking at the design of our self-mustering yards, where we put our tanks and why we put them there, but also what water on the ground does, the problems that arise from this, and how you can prevent them. It's pretty easy. You make sure that you don't have any leaks. So let's go have a look, see what sort of a problem we've got and how hard it's going to be. Whether it's something that I can fix just by grabbing the gear and flying in and fixing it, or if I've got to jump in the car and drive down. Hopefully it's something that I can just fly down for. So now I've gotten to the yards and our tank. I can have a little bit of a look around it. On the footage, and you should have seen that by now, you could see that whatever the problem was on the other side of the tank. So it's the first spot I'm going to have a look. And what it looks like is it's coming out of the overflow from back in the day. This is not ideal. So what it means is that I've got a problem with my tank sensor. It's a little electronic float. I can have a look on the pump and just see if it's an issue at that end or if I've got to redo this whole line. So I'm just going to pop over there now. One of the reasons it's not good to keep everything just pumping the whole time is you can hear this pump. She's sucking a bit of air. While these pumps have got water, it's good because it keeps it lubricated. But it's when you run out that you burn out all of the rubbers. So that's why you only pump what you need. Let's have a look here. It's our tank height sensor. We can hear some air coming through this line. So our tank height sensor connects in. It's not being chewed by anything. So I need to get up there and have a look. So what's there around here that I can use as a ladder? So, having flicked that up, should have turned the pump off. She's functioned perfectly. So, I don't need to replace it. Just need to reset the height that it's at. Having popped that float back into the right position, got one final check, and it's the electric function test. So we turn it off. Have a look at the little dust devil over there. They're not nice in the plane. So we've turned it off. We've given it a few seconds to reset. We flick it back on, and the tank's saying full. So we're functioning properly. Good to go. So I've just seen how a system which simply shows you the tank level with no visual would be inferior to something like this, just because you don't have that extra look, that eye over. They don't tell you if the tank's overflowing. They'll tell you if the tank's leaking at a rapid rate or not regenerating, but you can't identify an issue just like that, which is a little frustrating. And that's why it was so important to us to have a video feed, a constant recording system. That means that we could look through time and see changes. A picture tells 1,000 words, and a video tells you a lot more. Right, back home, landed, and I've just got to get a few things ready to go, and then I'll be able to go down to Brumby, drill out a bolt that's snapped off in there, and stop that trough leaking as well. So you can see behind me here a whole stack of cattle that are just hanging around. One of the reasons why they're doing that is because of the leak that we've got here. And that makes it a nice cool spot under these trees. Only problem is they're not out there getting fat. So we've got to fix this up. Now, one other thing this leaking trough has done, this is the only tree that's flowering. So it's liking the extra water it's getting. Pretty interesting. Well, I'm not going to spend the whole time just staring at cows. Got a job to do. I've got two in here. A little bull and a heifer. Just going to ask them nicely to vacate the yards so I can get to it. Steady, boy. Whoa. Now, they know where to go. They're just a little upset that I'm here. And they're away. Now I probably want to pull that heifer off. She's not exactly on type for me. That boy will do pretty well heading down to the farm. But we need to get him off so he's not spreading his genetics out there. We've got bulls out here which is just for that, so you know, they cost a lot of money. We want them to be the ones that are doing the good deed. I landed here, tossed this stick under here just to keep the trough from pushing down too far, and dribbling a little bit over there. It's going at a reasonable pace. So a couple of things I should check. I'll check the float valve, make sure that I haven't got anything stuck in there. But this I'm going to fix up so it's correctly mounted. So I've got an easy out set to take that out. And we'll get rid of my bush fix. And while we're here, we'll lube these up. Put some anti-seize in there so that we don't get anything breaking. Now you don't need a full breakdown on how to use an easy out. There's plenty of that available elsewhere. Speed this up. Well, that's not gone exactly according to plan. My easy out is now stuck in there. My brother sent through a thing the other day that had about the effectiveness of different penetrating oils, and one of the ones that it suggested was ATF and acetone mixed together. So ATF is automatic transmission fluid mixed with acetone. I could have given that a go. I didn't think of it until I got down here and was having a crack at this. So that's stuck in there. What I'll do is get the grinder, cut it flush, or cut it so it's not a sharp point coming out. And probably what I'm going to end up doing is drilling with a masonry bit and putting in a Dynabolt. The Dynabolts that I have with me are too deep. They'll go all the way through the trough and could cause a leak. So I'm just going to adjust that float, see what I can rig in terms of another bush repair, just like that stick that was still there when I got here. So you don't always win. Right, so the float's back in. Giving it a little bit of a flush. You can see some stuff coming out there. Let it go, and she's sealed back up. The pins are bent back over, and we're away. Now it's time just to sort out our cover. Now I'm putting plenty of anti-seize on because I've only got one bolt left. And I don't want to lose another here. I've not had much luck with easy outs in the past. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on how I should solve this problem, or if you've got any great tips in regards to those penetrating oils or using an easy out or another way to get this out. Because we've set the trough to a lower level, it's got a maximum point that it can go down for. But I don't want to take any chances and keep this overflowing. So it's back to the stick. Hopefully that'll keep us going until I come down here and use one of your solutions that you've suggested and fix her up properly. That pretty much finishes up the day. You win some and you lose some. Hope you have a good one.